My name is Mr. Bubble, let me show you tubs of fun.
You can be a bubble
with Mr. Bubble.
You can have some bubble too
with Mr. Bubble.
Or be a bobblehead.
We are going to continue on Art's point, actually, because my next guest says the decade has allowed asset bubbles to form, and it is dangerous for everyone. Economist Harry Dent is with me now. Harry, welcome. I'm sure you just heard Art Laffer's comments. I want to know where you see the most danger, that is to say the biggest asset bubble that is going to burst and cause investors pain.
Well, the biggest bubble in the world is China, their stock market, and even more so their real estate market, greater than any bubble in history, 27% vacancies, and it's only starting to slow. When the China bubble keeps bursting in stocks, Chinese investors will feel less speculative and they'll pull back, and then their market will go down and their investments around the world will. But there's bubbles everywhere. Real estate around the world, stock markets everywhere. Commodities have largely burst, even gold of all things. So the bubble is starting to burst, and we're seeing huge divergences now in the stock market, which says to me this stock bubble, the third one, after each stock bubble has gone higher, each crash has brought us lower. So we're getting ready to see the worst crash we've seen in our lifetime, or at least since 1931.
There are now more than 90 million stock traders in China, with nearly half joining in just the last year alone. This, and the elimination of other regulations, caused an alarming surge in the percentage of Chinese stocks purchased with borrowed money. And with a mind-blowing 67% of investors holding less than a high school education, there simply are not enough qualified analysts able to correctly judge the strengths and weaknesses of companies listed on the exchange. This tsunami of new, unchecked market activity caused two extremely dangerous things to happen. One, the formation of a massive bubble, which sent the value of Chinese companies to highly inflated levels. And two, in the feverish competition to attract investors, banks and other fund managers promised astronomical profits that were completely unrealistic. The Chinese stock market has become a casino, with trades seen as bets, instead of what they actually are, shares of ownership in a business.
Hey friends, welcome back. It's absolutely terrific to have you. Thank you so much for pushing play. I have one of the great truth tellers on the line with me, a friend of truth, a friend of SGT Report. It's Dave Kranzler from Investment Research Dynamics, and boy, are we going to break down some illusions. Dave, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. I want to wish everyone a happy new year. I honestly hope 2016 isn't as ugly as I think it's going to get, but having said that, make the best of what you got.
Tiny bubbles and wine make me happy, make me feel fine. Tiny bubbles make me warm all over with a feeling that I'm going.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH sourcing network. Whether you buy, sell, import, or manufacture industrial fasteners, you're searching for self-evident fastener truth, or you just dig fasteners, well, this is the Fastener Podcast for you. Thanks for joining us. Hey everybody, Eric Dudas here once again, and as always, the co-pilot of Fully Threaded is Brian Musker. Brian Musker, how are ya?
I'm doing pretty good. And I hope people are digging deeply for the self-evident truths in the story of fasteners, okay?
That's why we're here.
Yeah. Why not?
They're swirling all around us, apparently, if we could just figure out exactly what they mean.
True.
Well, we'll endeavor to answer some of those questions on today's episode. And we started off with a little bubble montage. I suppose it is a little bit of a disconnect with our main topic area here, but I think people kind of get the meaning. Bubbles seem to be popping everywhere, right on the verge of it, huh?
Yeah, some of them in Wall Street at the moment, I think.
Hopefully those don't become too self-evident.
I know.
Well, thanks again for joining us, everybody. This is episode 101. We're publishing on January 21st, 2016. Hey, is the death of hydrogen embrittlement imminent? Well, industry educator, consultant, and guru Carmen Vertullo, he of the Fastener Training Institute and Carver Consulting, will give us the answer during our feature segment on today's podcast. We'll also hear from Bob Chiricosta of Mack Brooks Productions. They're the folks who bring you Fastener Fair Mexico, as well as a bunch of other international fastener trade shows. He's going to bring us up to speed on what's happening in Mexico City this coming June. Kevin Miller of Bamal Fastener and the NFDA joins Mike McNulty to cover the surprisingly optimistic FDI numbers on the Fastener News Report. Mike will have all the headlines for us as well. And we'll kick off the show after a short break with a roundup of comments from various fastener professionals from around the country as they answer the question, what the hell's going on?
Which we've asked ourselves a number of times over the last few weeks.
Yeah, my feeling is we're going to continue to. And speaking of what the hell's going on, be sure to stick around after Carmen's feature segment as we'll close out this episode by taking a look at the current state of reshoring.
Right.
A little bit of buzz there, as folks would imagine.
Yeah.
We've got a great lineup of sponsors on this episode. Brian, shout them out.
Right. Well, these people know exactly what's going on. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stellfast and the Lindstrom family of companies. Stellfast, for service you deserve and people you trust. And the Lindstrom family of companies, including Titan Fasteners, Lindstrom, by any measure. Also sponsoring Fully Threaded Radio are Buckeye Fasteners, Fastenal, InSequel Software, ND Industries, the Worth Group, Trinity Hardware Headquarters, Volt Industrial Plastics, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. So thanks to all of you. Look forward to all of us careering through the uncertainty of this year together. We need our sponsors and we like them.
You got that right, Bri. We do love our sponsors very, very much. We also love each and every one of you listening into the podcast. Get with us anytime. The email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com. We are also reachable out there on Twitter. Our handle, Fully Threaded, not surprisingly.
Yeah, right. Though you won't find me there, okay?
They know, Bri.
I know. Oh, yeah, right.
Hey, before we get this episode underway, I'd like to thank Fastener News Desk on Twitter for the 100th episode graphic they created. It was sailing around out there on Twitter. The gals out there at Fastener News Desk have always been real big supporters of the podcast. Thanks a lot, ladies.
Yes.
It was very snappy. Are we still allowed to say that word, snappy, Bri?
Why not?
I don't know. I thought maybe in today's world some people might find it offensive, maybe to flamenco dancers or something.
No, things haven't got that bad yet, okay.
Glad to hear that. Well, everybody, it's January. We're working on our second 100 episodes now, and we'd like to, again, thank each and every one of you for listening to the podcast. We'd also like to ask you to help us out in growing the podcast by sharing it this year with your friends and coworkers. Try as we might, and using all of the channels available to us, it's still clear lots of folks don't know about Fully Threaded. They're just not aware of the podcast, and we'd really appreciate your help.
Right, and we find this out at every Las Vegas show where there are a lot of people who come by, especially to say hi and see who the people are behind this, and there's other people who have been in the industry for years and we know get emails, have never heard of this thing, okay? I guess it's the black hole that is emails in this world, but still.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what the hell's going on there, huh?
Yeah, right.
But we would appreciate it, folks. Tell a friend about FTR. And along with you, we're going to shoot for a great year, despite bubbles, elections, invasions, and what other annoyances pop up. And we'll get started with that right after this.
When people think Fastener Talk Radio, they think, huh. But then they think of Fully Threaded Radio. Talk radio for the fastener industry.
How do you make the top name in packaged fasteners even better? Combine it with one of the best-known names in the fastener business. Announcing that Titan Fasteners is now a proud part of Lindstrom. For more than 50 years, the Titan name has provided distributors with experience, technical expertise, and full customer support in every package that's shipped. For fastener needs in in-plant maintenance, industrial and construction, MRO and automotive, fleet, farm, building and grounds. Available by the box, keg, or pallet. Titan means packaged fasteners, and Lindstrom means choice, flexibility, and value. And together, we now offer more than 133,000 SKUs. For value-added fastener solutions in metric or inch, turn to Lindstrom and Titan Fasteners. To learn more about Titan Fasteners, visit titanfasteners.com. Lindstrom, by any measure. To speak with a sales representative, call 1-800-789-8112.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Harry, how's your search for new software going?
We've looked at a lot of systems, some with the same old technology, and others didn't seem like they knew much about what we did or needed. We did look at one company, crazy name though, I think it was InSqueakWell.
You mean INXSQL? That's InSQL. That's what we use. We've become much more efficient, and we've been able to offer our customers more services, which makes us more competitive.
Yeah, Inkswell, that's the one. They seem to be the only company that really understood what fastener distributors do for a living, and I found it easy to use.
Harry, it's InSQL, INXSQL. You don't pronounce the X. We buy a lot from several master distributors, and their direct connect simplifies the whole process. When we need pricing and availability quickly, we just hit the F12 key.
If you don't pronounce the X, why put it in there? A friend told me they get great support from NXQuell.
Yes, with InSQL, our experience has been the same. Quality support. They know our business. And the best part is, no extra charges. With our old system, apparently nothing we called about was covered by support.
You know, Inkwell seems to be the right company for us.
They're called InSQL, INXSQL. Go to their website, www.inxsql.com, or call them at 877-446-9775.
Hi, this is Lou from the Olander Company, serving Silicon Valley for the past 50 years. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, back with you on the online fastener bubble machine, Fully Threaded.
Radio.
Well, at least it'll keep us clean, Brian.
Okay. I know. We need that.
Yeah. I had a fun experience last weekend. Proves that any job or any area can be made more interesting with a positive attitude, which is what everybody needs right now. I was at a hockey rink at a hockey tournament and went over to get a quarter-pound all beef frank at the concession stand. And you wouldn't really think that's much of a big deal, but I tell you, there was this guy behind the cash register, and he was a master with the French pass and all those other coin tricks. And he was having a lot of fun with the customers. You know, you'd give him a fin, and he'd hand you back your change, and next thing you know, you'd look in your hand, and there was like 1 penny in there.
That he must be giving Obama lessons, I'd think.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's pretty much what they do. But I was really thinking it was kind of charming because, again, it's kind of a mundane job, and you're just there to get a hot dog, and he made it really kind of a fun thing. So it's all in the way you look at things.
Yeah, right.
And one thing I hope that every one of you will take a look at is the latest issue of Link Magazine. That's the winter issue. If you're catching the podcast a little late, get out to page 62. There's a photo of your intrepid hosts doing what we do best, and that would be relaxing at the bar after a frigid day in the North Woods, not catching a muskie.
Again.
We keep trying,
Right. We have tried many times.
And we will continue. The photo is a graphic that accompanies a story about the FCH link to Business Edge software. And if you're a Business Edge user, make sure you get out and check that story out. It's pretty well done and talks about the way that they're approaching the market these days and looking to external networks. Speaking of that same theme, get out to page 88 of Link. InSequel Software has an ad there, and it shows the mighty FCH logo loud and proud. Many of you know we're supporting InSequel's Direct Connect system with our legendary scrubber software.
All right.
No photo there, though, Bri.
Oh, okay.
Be sure to bring that issue along with you to the next trade event, and I'm sure Brian will be happy to autograph it for you.
Okay, yeah.
You're used to that by now.
Yeah.
What's all this talk about FCH and scrubber, you ask? Well, if you're new to the podcast, we're the people who bring you the FCH sourcing network, and that's found at www.fastenersclearinghouse.com. It's an online resource, about 1.2 million line items out there right now, in case you're ever looking for a hard-to-find or out-of-stock item. Chances are one of our distributor members has it for you. Just get out there, search the database. It's absolutely free for you to use. We're also interested in talking to you if you're looking for new channels to get rid of some of your inventory, be it slow movers or your A-item stuff. FCH is a great network for you.
Right. Now, to the scrubber, a bolt's just a bolt. It doesn't care if it's 5 years old and you haven't found the right person to sell it to, or whether it's made yesterday. As long as it's described as a bolt, okay?
Right. And the scrubber is the software that allows our members to upload that stuff easily, and also for you, when you're out there, to seamlessly find it, identify it, and contact the distributor so you can get it out to your customer and hopefully make a few points on it.
And, actually over the last so-called quiet weeks of Christmas, the scrubber and all its accompanying stuff moved off to a different server and has stabilized over there. So we were trying to ramp up to just keep its performance up as the use goes up.
You were working with your little elves as usual over the holidays, weren't you?
Right. Yeah, I had little elves down in Champaign-Urbana, and I had a set of little elves not quite so pleasant over in China.
Yeah, we'll tell that story on another episode, but that was a little bit of a hair raiser.
Right.
Again, folks, that is the FCH Sourcing Network, www.fastenersclearinghouse.com. Give it a try.
Yeah.
Well, we said at the top of the show that we wanted to throw out there to several of our various listeners and friends, members, the question, what the hell is going on? Now, most of them kind of shot back and said, well, what are you looking for? And I just said, hey, man, anything you got, give me 3 sentences, give me what's on the top of your mind. And so we put a couple of them together. We can't probably put them all on, but we'll read through a few of them. And Brian, you've got the sheet there. Why don't you take the first one? What the hell's going on?
Yeah. Well, Bob Baer from Abbott Interfast and the new president of the MWFA from Chicagoland says the new year brings new orders. Despite manufacturing remaining down, fastener orders have jumped back into normal volumes this month. But brace yourself for the unknown and volatile election year in the coming months.
Okay, very, I would say, overall upbeat and pragmatic. Guess you have to be that way when you're the president of a major trade association, though, right?
Right.
I'll take the second one. This one's from Andy Cohn of Duncan Bolt out there in Santa Fe Springs, California. Everybody knows Andy. He was short and to the point. He says, right now there seem to be an equal amount of optimists and pessimists out there.
Right, and that, we would see that too.
And I believe the FDI, which Mike McNulty will be covering shortly, is pretty much going to reflect that.
Yeah. And Pam Berry from Advanced Components and Wi-Fi from Carrollton, Texas, says, how to remain dynamic, diverse, and connected in an unpredictable economy. I love low oil prices, but please pick manufacturing up. Fastener-inspired yoga positions will increase your blood flow and increase sales. It's all about the bottom line. Is this industry in airplane mode, or can I blame it on Donald Trump?
Ooh. She said, no, we don't get political here on the podcast.
Right. We are totally apolitical. Sorry about my Mr. Obama comment.
She didn't mention anything about moisturizing, huh?
No.
Our good buddy Bob Reynolds over at InSequel Software had this to say. Weak economic recovery coupled with weak leadership on our national level. The only positive we have going is cheap gas, and that's being attacked by the administration and the EPA at each and every turn. In spite of their intentions, we now have a stockpile of crude oil and natural gas, making us less dependent on foreign countries.
And that's good.
Well, there's a lot of ways to read that. I don't know necessarily if we have time to get into it, but, well, we know where Bob's mind is at, and I guess I take back everything I said about Pam's comment.
Mark Strandquist, Executive Vice President of the Worth Group, says, contrary to our federal politicians' comments recently, the U.S. economy is not doing well. Fasteners have always been a leading indicator for the economy. Substantial changes have occurred downward when you look at fastener consumption of the first 3 quarters of the year versus the fourth quarter. While we are not being alarmist, we are working hard to solidify our current positions and gain market share where we can.
Yeah, he jammed a lot into that 3 sentences. I saw a report recently, I think it was on Global Fastener News, that Worth reported a 9% growth. And I'm guessing that some of that came through some of the acquisition that they took on over 2015. But his point is well taken. You got to work hard for what you get in this market. Thanks for that, Mark. I'll take the next one, and it is from another one of our good time buddies, Mr. John Butler of the Olander Company. He's Olander proud out there in Sunnyvale, California. He said, do we have enough choices? Benghazi Blonde, Crazy Colonel Sanders, Hair Flare Trump, and a Canadian? Who can make heads or threads of these screw-loose roundheads, and the market is reverting back to its norm of instability from years gone by, which includes the price of a barrel of crude. Very poetic, John.
Very nice. Thanks, John.
Good mix of current topics, and yeah, I like that. Olander proud, John Butler.
Yeah. And I've got one from Rick Perkhouse from Fastener Specialties Manufacturer and Manufacturing in West Palm Beach, Florida. Oh, God, I need a beer. As a leader of my company, what am I doing wrong? Why is there so much positive talk about our economy when so many of my peers in the fastener community are living on a fraction of the revenues that seemed typical for so many years prior? And that's a great question, okay? Because when you do talk to people, things are not great, and the signs we're given are always very positive.
Yeah, well, if we knew what the hell was going on, we wouldn't have had to ask the question. It's just good to know that other people don't know what the hell's going on either.
Right.
And to reinforce that, here's what Gary Polipnick of Fastenal had to say. I think you're going to find it pretty similar. Why does everything I read say how good business is when so many companies are so slow?
Yeah, that is the same question.
Exactly. So that's what's going on. And I snagged that one. Why don't you take the final one, Bri? Maybe we can end this one on an uptick. I think this one's from Casey McElhan of Assembled Products, and he's the president of the NFDA.
Well, he starts off. Get it done. It's a new year. Times continue to be filled with uncertainty, so roll up your sleeves and get it done.
Yes.
Thanks, Casey. We just remind us where we really are despite what we think, okay? means positive attitude will fix sorts of negative things.
Well, it'll fix a lot, and in any case, whatever we're on the verge of, we're going to fight through it to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, we thank all of the folks who answered our what the hell's going on question. We'll pop another one of these out there. Incidentally, Bri, I did pose this question out there on Twitter, and I got 0 replies, so this was all done by email. It really kind of makes you wonder what's going on Twitter. What the hell's going on out there on Twitter, too, because didn't seem to get too much interest. But a lot of people did reply to this, and we picked out a few of the good ones. There were some others that we didn't have time to use, but thanks one and all for joining us. Again, Casey says, let's get her done. And folks, we will be getting her done right after this break. We'll be back with more Fully Threaded Radio.
These guys aren't screwing around much. Brian and Eric, Fully Threaded Radio, Internet Talk Radio for the fastener industry.
Since 1905, Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company have been supplying the world with high-quality fasteners. Our standard product lines include weld fasteners, braided weld screws, leg levelers, self-clinching hardware, clevis pins, rivet nuts, and various other fastener lines, allowing us to support virtually all types of industries. We have complete custom manufacturing capabilities in low carbon, medium carbon, and stainless steel materials, and our quality systems are registered to ISO standards. Our on-staff engineering department can assist you with product development and provide total technical support. Our knowledgeable sales team members offer superior customer service and are here to answer any questions you may have regarding our products. Having a hard time finding a part? Let our sourcing specialists do the work for you to locate those items. We offer competitive pricing with typically smaller minimums and shorter lead times. To find out more about Buckeye Fasteners, please call us at 800-437-1689 or on the web at buckeyefasteners.com. Buckeye Fasteners, more than just weld.
The leading event for fasteners and fixings in Latin America takes place June 1st and 2nd at the World Trade Center in Mexico City. Connect with thousands of fastener and fixing buyers at the Fastener Fair Mexico 2016. Fastener Fair Mexico is produced by Mack Brooks Exhibitions, the leader in international fastener shows and organizers of the Fastener Fair in Stuttgart. This will be the second edition of the Fastener Fair Mexico, and as the only dedicated fastener event in Latin America, it is sure to be a huge success once again. Fastener Fair Mexico is the perfect opportunity to grow your business by reaching new prospective buyers and partners from Mexico, Latin America, and beyond. Whether your business is focused on automotive, aerospace, construction, electronics, or household appliance manufacturing, Fastener Fair Mexico is where you need to be. To exhibit, contact the Fastener Fair Mexico team at 781-791-5011. Mack Brooks also invites distributors from across North America to attend this exciting show. To receive an invitation to attend Fastener Fair Mexico as our guest, please join our mailing list at www.fastenerfair.com/Mexico. Once again, www.fastenerfair.com/Mexico. We look forward to seeing you June 1st and 2nd at the Fastener Fair in Mexico City, and bienvenidos to the North American fastener industry.
ND Industries has been solving customers' toughest problems through innovative technologies, competitive pricing, and industry-leading service since 1955. A family-owned business, ND Industries manufactures and applies fastener locking, bonding, sealing, masking, and assembling products. Their pre-application process makes fasteners ready to use at the point of assembly, resulting in reduced labor costs, time savings, and superior quality assurance. As a fully integrated company, ND handles all aspects of operations from formulating custom chemical compounds and coating fasteners to providing inline inspection, packaging, and delivery services. ND Industries serves the global market with 13 divisions in the continental U.S. and also facilities in Taiwan, China, and Turkey. Learn more about ND Industries at our website at www.ndindustries.com. ND Industries. Innovative technologies, competitive pricing, and industry-leading service. Contact ND today.
$95,000 3/4 10 by 9 and 3/4 grade 8 zinc yellow tap bolts right away, but they're not a standard size.
Solution Man Ken. I carry a wide variety of sizes and I can quickly cut them to any length. See Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Using your bare hands?
I do use a saw on smaller parts, actually.
Hi, this is Vic from the Cambridge Corporation at the 31st Annual Midwest Fastener Show, and I listen to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, your online Fastener Amigos, back with you. Episode 101, Brian.
Yeah, I know. Pretty good, isn't it?
Sure is. Well, the year is rolling along, and man, it seems like just the other day we were in Vegas, doesn't it?
Yeah, sadly.
And like in 2 weeks, we'll be back.
Yeah, that's the worst part. I think I want to go back to being 20 again. Time passes slower.
Yeah, you're experiencing time compression, are you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I've heard that happens. Well, there are, of course, lots of shows. Actually, we have our booth already this year for Vegas, which is a cool thing. We're way ahead of the game for some reason. But there's another big show coming up ahead of that. Actually, there are a lot all over the place, but as Fully Threaded listeners know, we've been working with the folks over at Mack Brooks to promote one of their upcoming shows. And with us now is a fellow by the name of Bob Chiricosta. He's talking to us from the Boston area. He's the director of North American exhibits for Mack Brooks. Hey, Bob, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Eric and Brian. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure.
Actually, last time we ran into you in person was in Vegas, too, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, it was. It was a great show for us.
Apparently so. I think we're going to hear a little bit about that in a moment. What were your impressions before we get to that? Fastener Fair Mexico is what we're talking about here, folks. But before we get to that, what was your impression when you heard the big news about the Vegas show being sold?
Well, it wasn't really a surprise for us. We've known Jim a long time and have a great relationship with him. And we knew that it was in the works and that something was going to happen. A little surprised about who the eventual buyer ended up being because they don't really run anything in fasteners. But I'm sure they'll do a good job because they're keeping Jim on and all of his staff on. And I'm sure the show will be great again this year.
Well, as long as everybody's happy with their booth selections. I know there was a lot of scrambling in that, but I'm sure you're right.
Yeah, in fact, we were in the show last time. Again, we have a good relationship with them. And Fastener Fair Mexico will be in. We've selected our booth for the next show as well. And it was great for us. We had an awful lot of people see that there was a show coming up in Mexico, and a lot of exhibitors signed up for the show while we were in Vegas.
Wow, that's good.
Tell us a little bit about Fastener Fair Mexico. This is the second rendition. Am I not correct? And it's happening June 1st and 2nd in Mexico City.
Yeah, that's right. This will be the second time that we've held the show in Mexico. First one was a huge success. We were very pleased. The exhibitors, the feedback from exhibitors was tremendous. Everybody walked away thinking this was a great show. So we're running it now for the second time in June. We've switched venues. We've moved from Banamex, which is the venue we were in last time, to the World Trade Center. Banamex is on the outskirts of Mexico City, and it's kind of a pain to get to. And the traffic, and it's just a nightmare getting in and out of that place. We listened to everybody and all the exhibitors and visitors, and they said they preferred being right in the downtown central location of the World Trade Center. And it's a great venue. It's a great area. Hotels close by and all, and lots of restaurants close by and all. It's a really nice venue.
Well, you said your exhibit space is all booked up. Who is exhibiting at this show, and who should attend?
Well, first of all, our exhibit space was totally booked up. We were sold out 6 months before the show. We had no more space. But I was just recently down in Mexico City at the venue, and we were able to free up some additional space. So we are in the process now of clearing the waiting list and getting all the people that were on our waiting list into the show. And then we expect to have a few more, maybe a handful to 8 to 10, I don't know, additional booths that we'll be able to sell to other additional exhibitors. So if somebody wants to exhibit at the show, they need to contact us right away, because it's definitely going to be sold out again really soon. And what was the other thing you asked me?
Oh, no, the question was, if you're wander around the Las Vegas show, that in general, the audience is Americans. You get a few Canadians, occasionally some Italians turn up, but it's not who's your general audience for your show in Mexico City?
Well, the vast majority of the attendees are obviously from Mexico. We do get some from other Latin American countries. We do get quite a few from the United States as well, but the vast majority are Mexico and other Spanish-speaking Latin American countries. We get a few people from Spain, but we also get them from Argentina, Chile, and areas like that. Colombia.
Okay, well, that's interesting selection. Okay. I see there's quite a number of American companies, pretty well-known ones are exhibiting there too.
Well, when you talk about exhibitors, the profile is a little bit different. The exhibiting, again, Mexico is the number one exhibiting country. There's certainly quite a few from the United States, a good portion of them. And again, there's always going to be folks from Asia, China, Taiwan, India. Those folks will be there. We also get some companies from Europe. We have Spanish companies, Italian companies. There's a couple from India. We have some from Canada, Brazil, Indonesia, Spain. So exhibitors tend to be much more global than the visitors.
I'm guessing there's a tremendous amount of representation from the automotive sector down there.
Yeah, as far as visitors go, that's our number one group of attendees is the automotive industry, and we work with the association down there as well, and they bring in quite a few visitors. In fact, the automotive exhibitors last time thought the show was fantastic because the automotive industry really was they attended our show very strong, along with general manufacturing and construction and other areas too. But automotive was very, very big. You're right.
Sure, not surprising. Let's throw the website out there for those who need some more information and they want to get a hold of Bob. Get out to www.fastenerfair.com/Mexico. Get all the info you need.
So another question, Bob. I mean, given what usually turns up about Mexico in the news here, how do you assure people that it's really safe to go to Mexico City?
Yeah, Brian, there's two things that come up quite often we get asked about. One is safety and one is food. And as far as safety goes, in recent years, Mexico's been in the news quite a bit about violent crime. There's no question about it. And there are areas in Mexico that's been very prone to that type of thing. And most of the violent crime in recent years was centered around the northern border cities, but did not affect Mexico City. In fact, when the U.S. government set up warnings several years ago for Americans traveling in Mexico, the areas that they were told were potentially problems were the border cities and some other areas. But Mexico City has always been the safest part of Mexico. It's funny, the business people in Mexico have fears about coming to the United States because of all of the problems we have here. Because their news, the news accentuates things, and their news talks about the problems here. Our news talks about the problems there. I was just in Mexico City earlier, and I felt extremely safe in the hotels, restaurants, shopping malls, and I don't speak a word of Spanish. And I think Mexico City is a safe place. And as far as food goes, people say, gee, well, I get sick and all of this. And I can tell you, years ago, I'd go to Mexico and a queasy stomach, that would happen. But it just doesn't happen anymore. I mean, the water's purified, the water in the hotels, you can eat in the restaurants in the city. I haven't heard of anybody having those kind of problems in recent years. So, I don't think that's something you should worry about.
Well, that's all good to hear, Bob. And I'd say it's probably a good thing to advise everybody, hey, you're in a major city anywhere on the planet. You got to watch yourself. But it sounds like it's definitely worth the trip down to Mexico City, June 1st and 2nd. Again, we'll throw the website out there. It's www.fastenerfair.com/Mexico. Get a hold of Bob through that website. He'll set you up, whether you're just visiting or you want to squeeze into one of those last possibly remaining booths. And we'll close out here in a moment, Bob, with one more question for you. There is definitely one word of Spanish that I think all fastener people need to be aware of when they head south of the border, and that would be cerveza.
Yeah, I said I don't speak Spanish, well, I speak two words. I know cerveza and I know tequila. So those are the two I know.
You could try mezcal and comida, okay? Food's useful as well.
Yeah, widen your vocabulary, I guess. But Up in Vegas, we have Old Rusty Bolt every year. Do we have an equivalent down there that you can advise people to try, or what's the cerveza situation like at the show, Bob?
Well, I think most people know the typical Mexican beers. You know, there's Dos Equis and, of course, Corona. And there's plenty of it down there. There's no problem finding a beer in Mexico.
Okay, well, I could tell you right now this show is going to be a big success. Of course, Mack Brooks, you're the same folks who bring us the Stuttgart show, which is the largest fastener show on the planet.
Yep.
And so you guys know what you're doing. June 1st and 2nd, everybody. Bob Chiricosta, Mack Brooks Productions, we really appreciate you spending a moment or two with us to fill us in on the details of the Mexico show.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian and Eric.
There he goes. Hey, everybody. The Fastener News Report with Mike McNulty is coming up momentarily. Before we get to that, I want to remind everyone, in case you were unaware, it's time again to consider applying or having someone on your team for the Gilchrist Foundation Scholarship. This is a little bit of a different kind of a scholarship because those who receive awards from the Gilchrist Foundation are expected upon completion of their schooling to make an earnest effort within the fastener industry or to pursue employment in an industry trade association member company. And also, unlike most scholarships, you can apply for the scholarship at any point during your education, and you can even be a part-time student working in the fastener industry. So he's got this thing pretty much tailor-made for a lot of people that I can think of in the industry. All the details are available at the Gilchrist Foundation website, www.gilchristfoundation.com. This is run, of course, by Robbie Gilchrist and his lovely wife. If you make it out to any of the association meetings, particularly CIFA or NFDA, I'm sure you're good friends with the Gilchrists.
Right.
And another guy who likes to hang out at NFDA meetings deserves a note of congratulations. I saw that he has a new job description with a new company, and that is he's the RivNet guru over at EFC International. I'm speaking, of course, of Tom Buddenbone.
Yes. Congratulations, Tom. Okay. Long-time friend of Fully Threaded Radio.
He absolutely is. Of course, you probably know him from Technology Component Southwest. Mike McNulty will be covering this, but EFC International has acquired TCS, and of course, Tom is sticking around with the company. I'm not sure the details of that arrangement. Maybe we'll have him on the podcast at some point, but looks like everyone was a winner in that transaction.
Yep. Good.
Way to go, Tom.
Yeah, it is.
Think he's going to be doing more sailing and playing more tennis these days, Brian? Or?
Oh, I wouldn't want to predict what's going to happen like that, okay?
No, I'm sure he's going to keep his nose to the grindstone. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stelfast and Lindstrom.
By any measure.
You got it, man.
Hey, I've been doing this for a while.
The Fastener News Report is sponsored today by Volt Industrial Plastics and Fastenal, and we thank you so much once again for listening in, everybody. And now, with news about screws you can use, here's Mike McNulty.
Thanks, Eric and Brian. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored today by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. Once again, the new year brings another leadership regime change for the Cleveland Browns, another hubristic State of the Union speech from our feckless utopian president, another impossible job assignment for our bumbling visionary vice president, and perhaps most importantly, another edition of the Fastener News Report to help you join me in staying focused on fasteners. In today's report, we're going to reveal the latest results of the Fastener Distributor Index, also known as FDI. Also in today's broadcast, we have newsmaker headlines from the Worth Group, EFC, TCS, Dynacast, the North Coast Fastener Association, Gemcor, Simpson Strong-Tie, and Alcoa. On the back page, we're going to talk about automotive sales records. We will get to all of that and last month's FDI results right after this.
Whether you need a small or large number of fasteners, there is no reason why you should have to sacrifice quality or service for that matter. Volt Industrial Plastics takes great care with each and every order to ensure you receive a quality fastener in a timely and affordable manner. Our state-of-the-art production equipment allows us to produce any quantity you request quickly and efficiently. And with same-day shipping on nearly 1 million in-stock fasteners, we carry an inventory so you don't have to. Visit us online at voltplastics.com to find out more about our quality American-made products. Volt Industrial Plastics, manufacturer of the finest plastic fasteners in the world.
For a selection of hundreds of thousands of fasteners, check out your local Fastenal store or Fastenal.com. We can stock domestic or internationally sourced product locally and keep your bin stock filled for you at no additional expense. We are a 9001-2008 certified company that's made a huge investment in quality control so you don't have to. And if you can't find it on our shelf, we can make it for you at the quantity you need at one of our many manufacturing facilities. Learn more by contacting your local Fastenal store or visiting Fastenal.com today.
My customer sent me a print for a bolt specifically for the machine in his shop, but we can't make it.
Solution Man Ken. Provide me with a print, and my superhuman CNC machining team will custom make it for you faster than a manufacturer's rep drinking at an open bar. Visit the Solution Industries website for details at solutionInd.com.
Wow, that is fast.
So are you at the distributive social, huh?
Mike McNulty.
In December 2015, the FDI jumped up to a seasonally adjusted level of 50.8, a nice improvement from the November reading of just 46.7 and the highest reading of the second half of 2015. Fastener Distributor Index data is collected and analyzed by BB&T Capital Markets, the FCH Sourcing Network, and the National Fastener Distributors Association. The FDI seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the American fastener distribution industry. To get some insight on these results, we talked to Kevin Miller, president of Bamal Fastener Corporation and NFDA board member. Hi, Kevin. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Well, it looks, this is a positive note. The FDI closed out on 2015 on a high note, but BB&T is telling us that they see no reason to be overly positive as they are remaining cautious. And they said that only 35% of the respondents cited stronger sales growth in December. What's your take on these results?
I would have to say that, my interpretation of them is probably right in line with BB&T's interpretation of them. You look at the change from November to December, the jump in the number, I think is too short of a time frame to really judge what's going on in the industry, especially when looking at the seasonally adjusted numbers. 4 out of the last 6 months have been below 50, which typically, demonstrates that there's a declining fastener market. We're seeing roughly the same thing. Volumes are down. The constant decrease in raw materials is putting a lot of price pressure on a lot of companies, especially our end users, manufacturers, and we expect that to probably continue for at least the first half of this year.
Yeah, that was one of the things that BB&T issued in their reports. They said that the weakness looking forward was due to several things. They mentioned lower commodity prices, currency problems or headwinds, and then overall slower industrial production.
Yep, I agree with all that. The strong dollar right now, I think, is significantly affecting our exports, which is hurting manufacturing a little bit. While we drive some advantage to that when we're purchasing products overseas. It also, the stagnant manufacturing climate right now is kind of, washing out any benefit that we would gain from that, because I think a lot of companies are looking at the market slowing down, trying to depress their inventories, and that's just flowing back through the supply chain.
Yeah, we also collect comments on the FDI, and one that stuck out to me here says, "This was our weakest month in terms of gross revenue in the past 10 years. We set a new record for low, even lower than in 2009. The fourth quarter was weak overall, with December being the worst." So hopefully not everybody had that bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think that the fourth quarter was really, as depressing as that statement is for everyone. But what I can tell you is just, being at the NFDA shows and speaking to people in other, associations, they just said that the fourth quarter, they're just for no rhyme or reason whatsoever, one of the months and even late third quarter, one of those months, be it September or October or November, was just abnormally low. And I don't know if that's due to, timing or number of billing days in any given month, or if certain industrial sectors just kind of had a blip.
Mm-hmm.
But, I again go back to, I don't think that the bottom is falling out. I think that this is just, and again, this is just my personal opinion. I think this may be a short-term correction, especially watching what all the stock markets are doing. Everybody's freaking out about the markets dropping. But if you look at where we were compared to about 2 years ago, they're still up 20%. So,
right.
I think coming the first quarter here, to overuse the phrase, I think everybody's kind of cautiously optimistic, hoping for the best, but also taking the appropriate measures to prepare for the worst.
Yeah, there are a lot of people thinking doomsday on the stock market and oil dropping down to $30 a gallon and that, but you got to take the good and the bad is the way I look at it.
I agree.
Now on the temperate good side, I guess the 6-month outlook results that 45% of respondents expect business to be higher in 6 months, 35% expected the same, and 20% expect it lower. So that's a pretty good ratio. 80% say same or higher, and only 20% say lower. So that's a good way to temper out the first half of the year.
Yeah, I agree. And, again, coming into the fourth quarter, it's the end of the year, so everybody's trying to get their income statements and balance sheets to look right. So, manufacturers are typically trying to depress their inventories, and usually that decrease in demand results in an uptick in demand in the first quarter, because now they've got to build extra to keep up with their customers. So.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to seeing what results we get from the FDI in the first month of 2016.
I certainly hope they're trending more positively than they have been.
Yeah, same here. The second half of last year was overall negative, I guess. But anyways, on a different note, you're a board member at the NFDA. What can you tell us about what the FDA has planned for 2016?
The NFDA, we got a lot of really good meetings. The big one coming up is March 1st through 4th out in San Diego on Coronado Island. It's the NFDA Pac West Joint Conference. Had one a couple years ago. It was a great success. If anybody's considering going to a meeting, I would highly encourage them to go to this one. There's a lot of members of the Pac West that aren't members of the NFDA, so you get a little more exposure than you would at any of the other NFDA meetings. But, my grandfather was one of the founding members of the NFDA, and I think it provides a lot of good for the industry. So I highly encourage anyone in the fastener industry to consider joining. I'm a board member. I'm also on the membership committee. So, feel free to reach out to me personally if you have any questions about membership benefits and what entails joining the organization.
Well, that sounds pretty good. And I like to hear the family tree reference there, too. That's good to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, Kevin, thanks for joining us today on the Fastener News Report.
You're welcome. I look forward to speaking again with you in the future.
That was Kevin Miller of Bamal Fastener Corporation. If you want to participate in the FDI survey results, visit www.fdisurvey.com. Next up, today's Fastener Newsmaker headlines. The Wirth Group in Germany has reported its highest ever annual sales volume, 11.05 billion euros in 2015 versus 10.13 billion euros in 2014. This was an increase of 9%. Due to regional expansion and strong showings in Southern and Eastern Europe as well as in North America. Engineered Fastener Distributor EFC International, based in St. Louis, Missouri, has acquired Technology Components Southwest, also known as TCS, a fastener distributor based in Fort Worth, Texas. Jimmy Brown and Tom Budenbohm are TCS partners. The Ohio-based North Coast Fastener Association has elected Larry Kelly as the new NCFA president. Larry is the business development manager at Buckeye Fasteners Company in Brook Park, Ohio. Larry has been a member of the NCFA for 10 years. He served as NCFA vice president for the past 2 years, and he has over 30 years of experience in the fastener industry. Dynacast in Charlotte, North Carolina, a manufacturer of precision metal components, has signed an agreement to acquire TechCast Incorporated, MH Machining Group, of Bensenville, Illinois. The acquisition and addition of the TechCast team further expands Dynacast multi-slide zinc, aluminum capacity, and CNC machining capabilities in North America. Ascent Aerospace, based in Santa Ana, California, has bolstered its automotive assembly capabilities with the addition of Gemcor, based in West Seneca, New York. Gemcor makes automated fastening systems for global airframe manufacturers. Simpson Strong-Tie in Pleasanton, California, has acquired Blue Heron Enterprises and Fox Chase Enterprises, manufacturers of proprietary hidden deck fastening systems. Simpson Strong-Tie has promoted and sold fasteners and screws for these fastening systems since 2008. And our top Fastener Newsmaker headline is that Alcoa has landed major contracts with Boeing and GE Aviation. The long-term agreements with Boeing are worth over $2.5 billion, and they represent Alcoa's largest fastener deal ever. Alcoa will supply multi-material fastening systems for every Boeing platform. Under one contract, Alcoa's fastening systems and rings unit will supply titanium, stainless steel, alloy steel, aluminum, and nickel-based super alloy fastening systems for the Boeing 777X, the 737 MAX, and the 787 Dreamliner. Alcoa will produce these fastening systems at 7 of its global manufacturing facilities. The GE Aviation contract is also long-term, and it is for jet engine components valued at more than $1.5 billion. Under this deal, Alcoa will supply advanced nickel-based superalloy, titanium, and aluminum components for a broad range of GE Aviation's engine programs. These parts will be made in the USA, France, and Canada. Finally, let's turn to the back page to talk about automotive sales records. The stock market and oil industry may be spinning out of control, but the auto industry was a good place to be in 2015. According to Car and Driver magazine, America put 2015 into the record books by buying the most new cars and trucks ever in a single year, more than any year since the automobile was invented, including the previous record set in the year 2000. The final tally, according to Ward's Auto, was just about 17.5 million light-duty vehicles, a 6% increase from the 16.5 million sold in 2014. Low gas prices, coupled with good loan rates and slow but fairly steady economic growth, led the way to the new record. Kelley Blue Book reports that the average transaction price also reached a record of $34,428 in December of 2015. With all of these favorable numbers, 11 automotive brands posted all-time records in the USA market in 2015. Audi, BMW, Jeep, Fiat Chrysler, Honda, Hyundai, Land Rover, Kia, Mercedes-Benz, Nissan, Porsche, and Subaru. 33 different individual models also finished 2015 with record results. The companies missing from this list have some explaining to do, kind of like the Cleveland Browns do every off-season. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International, bringing you the Fastener News Report. Remember to send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at McNulty@FastenerTech.com.
Could it finally be the end of hydrogen embrittlement as we know it? Find out next as Carmen Vertullo joins us on Fully Threaded.
First, there was fire, and man said,
"Fire good."
Then there was the wheel, and man said,
"Wheel good."
With the invention of the wheel came the need for fasteners, and man loudly exclaimed,
"Buckeye good."
Buckeye Fasteners, providing quality products since the dawn of man. The preceding message was brought to you by Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company, proud Fastener Show sponsors of Old Rusty Bolt Beer, official beer of the Traveling Salesman.
Tell 'em Grog sent you. Ugh.
ND Industries has been solving customers' toughest problems through innovative technologies, competitive pricing, and industry-leading service since 1955. A family-owned business, ND Industries manufactures and applies fastener locking, bonding, sealing, masking, and assembling products. Their pre-application process makes fasteners ready to use at the point of assembly, resulting in reduced labor costs, time savings, and superior quality assurance. As a fully integrated company, ND handles all aspects of operations, from formulating custom chemical compounds and coating fasteners to providing inline inspection, packaging, and delivery services. ND Industries serves the global market with 13 divisions in the continental U.S. and also facilities in Taiwan, China, and Turkey. Learn more about ND Industries at our website at www.ndindustries.com. ND Industries. Innovative technologies, competitive pricing, and industry-leading service. Contact ND today.
Ahoy there! No one likes to miss the boat. Well, except maybe the Titanic or Bismarck. But generally speaking, we don't like missing the boat. And we know you don't want to miss the boat either. Which is why we're inviting you to hop on board the TrinityHardwareHQ.com for the ultimate fastener experience. With all engines full steam ahead, Trinity Hardware headquarters will get you to your fastener destination in no time. This online mega carrier is rigged with over 30,000 varieties of fasteners, don't you know, including package clamps and carriage bolts, and a full assortment of plow bolts. And now, TrinityHardwareHQ.com has really gone overboard by dropping our minimum order to only $25. Aye, matey, you heard me right, just a mere 25 clams. And don't forget about our swag crew that provides a laundry list of services to complete your online fastener experience, including packaging, kitting, and poly bagging. Check out our hold and release options in pallet or quarter keg shipments. We even offer secondary services such as patching, machining, drilling, and much, much more. So don't miss the boat. Make TrinityHardwareHQ.com your one-stop shopping destination. That's TrinityHardwareHQ.com. All aboard, mates, for parts done right.
Thanks for calling Fasteners Clearinghouse. Please leave a message after the beep.
Hello, my name is Vladimir. I am friends with, you call him Joe Poplinsky. We just call him Joey P around here. But anyway, he says I can get some threaded rod from you. I'm looking for some rod on the bigger side, somewhere around an inch or so. You know, the kind that is good for beatings. I mean, you know, for fastening things. Yeah. So, give call to Russian consulate. We'd like to make a good deal for you. Thank you.
This is Aaron Shushan from Specialty Sales, and you are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Welcome back, everybody. Brian and Eric, Fully Threaded. Well, we're joined now by somebody that everyone who listens to Fully Threaded Radio is very well familiar with. He's Carmen Vertullo. We've been playing the Fastener Training Minute segment for last many months, and it's been very well received. We also had Carmen on for a couple of extended segments, and everybody really seemed to receive those well, so we wanted to do that one more time. Carmen, welcome back to Fully Threaded.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you and Brian for letting me do the Fastener Training Minute. Always enjoy that.
Well, we do too. So I've learned all sorts of things, so we're going to learn some more this time, okay?
So before we get on with that, why don't we revisit your background and how you got involved with fasteners? Everybody regards you as quite the guru. Of course, you do a lot with the Fastener Training Institute, and your main gig is Carver Consulting. Give us some background so we can refresh our memory on how you got to this point, Carl.
Well, thank you. I started off learning about fasteners when I joined the Air Force when I was 18 years old. I actually joined when I was 17. Grew up in Pittsburgh.
Did you lie about your age?
No, I didn't. My mom let me go too.
Oh, okay.
Had to escape Pittsburgh or else work in the mill. Back in those days, we had mills, and I didn't make it to college. So I joined the Air Force and was a jet engine mechanic. Loved doing that job. It's the funnest job I ever had because I got to run them on a test cell. Got to take them apart, put them back together. Big, noisy, smoky engines back in the day from J79s and F5s and C-130s. Had turboprops, and I worked on those 3 airplanes mainly. And so when you're assembling jet engines, they tend to want you to know a few things about how nuts and bolts work, which mainly in those days came down to proper torquing, using a torque wrench, and you can identify fasteners, make sure you put the right screw where it goes, thread pitches, and mostly fine threads in those days. And so I knew a few things about fasteners. Got out of the Air Force after getting married and ended up in San Diego here by a weird turn of events. And I'll tell you about that some other time, but I couldn't find this place on a map. And we had to go to college. So I went to San Diego State, enrolled in the ME program there. And a little while later, I was working in the aerospace field, and aerospace fell apart in San Diego, and I needed a job. I had built some cruise missile test equipment and made parts for the Atlas rocket, that kind of stuff. Some of it having to do with fasteners. That's where I learned about things like PEM nuts and inserts and mil-spec aerospace hardware in a production environment. But I had to get a job, and this guy that everybody knows named Jim and Kathy Law, wonderful people here in El Cajon, California, had this fastener company called a Baba Bolt, and they needed a sales manager. And somebody that knew me knew them, and they said, hey, this Carmen guy, he might be able to do it. So I went in there, and knowing nothing about sales, nothing about management, took a job as a sales manager for a Baba Bolt. Took me a couple of years to fail at that job, but Jim was very gracious, and I was interested in technical stuff, so continued to do that job for 10 years, more on the technical level, establishing a bunch of stuff technically. You know, we learned about wireless warehousing and barcoding back in the day. I always say our industry's late to come into new technologies, and in those days, you know, it's how it was. Getting us up to speed with lot traceability, quality management, being able to buy the technical specification product properly and source it well and sell it well, and, you know, avoid the risks that come along with that kind of stuff. I did that for about 10 years. And by then it was early 90s maybe. And I decided, Lois and I decided we wanted to have our own business. So we started this consulting company. And, of course, still having a great relationship with Jim and Kathy to this day. Jim is a great supporter of the Fastener Training Institute. He sends tons of people to all the classes and actually teaches one of them himself. He teaches the product training class. Him and Andy Cohn do that.
Bob, of course, has been a long-time FCH member, and we are certainly glad to have their support. So I like that. I got to interject also, Carmen. I love the part of your history where you basically took a job you knew nothing about and stayed there for 10 years. I mean, it resonates with me.
Well,
probably a lot of people, actually.
I still, if you ask my wife, know nothing about sales or management. So I have not gone to that school yet.
I love it.
But no, she is not critical of me at all. She loves me and only has good things to say about me. So we started this business, and I'll tell you a little quick story. One of the very first consultations I had, actually a sales guy at a Baba Bolt, Larry Olson, had an issue out there at the Navy at North Island where they had an engine stand that had a particular fastener on it, special fastener, that was failing left and right, and they literally had their engine shop shut down for the GE T700 helicopter engine that goes on the Blackhawk. So Larry's out there selling bolts, and they say, hey, can you fix this? And he said, I don't know if I can, but I know somebody that might. So Larry drags me out there. I look at the problem, and because I was a jet engine mechanic in the Air Force, I wasn't afraid of the stuff and came up with a very quick solution that we brought back to them the next day. And they were very impressed with that. And they said, hey, we have some real issues with these engine stands here. We'd like to buy some more, but these are pieces of crap, and we need them redesigned. Can you do that? And being an ME, I said, well, let me borrow one for the weekend. And they gave me one. I took it home, took it apart, documented it, gave them a proposal. And the next thing you know, I built 3 of these engine maintenance stands for North Island. That's about a $50,000 contract. Subbed everything out, literally assembled them in my garage, drove them down around the back of my pickup truck. They were very happy, but it was illegal. You can't just go out on the street and buy an engine stand for a military engine. It wasn't illegal for me. It was illegal for them to have done it. But this maintenance officer had solved the problem, and nobody wanted to call him out on it. So they brought out the Navy from Cherry Point and some people from GE, and we load tested the stand, certified it, and it became the official T700 helicopter engine maintenance stand. And we've made 60, 70 of them now since those 15 years ago. Now they're all over the planet in various military places. The Colombian Army has them, Presidential Helicopter Fleet has them, NASA has them. And so that little fastener consultation is what got us going from fastener consulting to a manufacturing and engineering company. So we make lots of parts here. We're not a production place. We're not in the fastener business. Too many of our clients come to us and say, hey, can you solve this problem? We got a machine shop here, so we'll make the prototype and say, okay, here's your drawing, here's your prototype. Go find a place to make this. If you need help, we'll do that. And they're supposed to go off and get it done in China or somewhere else. And the next thing you know, hey, we need 5,000. Can you do that? I don't want to do 5,000. I'll do 50. But we end up from time to time having to bail our customers out with the ideas that we come up with. The reason I say that is it's very important for me to have my clients know I am not a fastener supplier, so I'm not going to go into competition with anybody with the ideas that you bring me or that I come up with on my own. So,
yeah, I could see how that might be a problem.
I would think so.
So that's kind of my background. And the fastener training thing actually started when I still worked for Ababa Bolt. I had complained. I got on what was then called the Los Angeles Fastener Association. I was on the board, and I complained that we had good training for the introductory folks in the industry, but we didn't have any high-level technical training. And, like all organizations, if you're sitting around a table and you're the guy complaining, everybody kind of looks at you with blank eyes. Okay, so what's the solution?
Yeah, you just created a new job for yourself.
Right, yeah.
I did. And I would give the credit to many people that were on that board at the time, and I can't remember all their names. It wasn't like it was one person's idea, but of course, Vicki Lester at the time was the association manager, and she corralled us into making what was called the Certified Fastener Specialist Training Program. And we did that 1 year. I remember the first class, it was me and Bengt Blendolf. And I had been in one of Benk's training classes. I was kind of like the ringleader. We'd bring in the higher talent like Bengt, and Joe Greenslade at the time taught a class for us, bring in other industry experts. And I thought it would go 1 year or maybe two, and that would be it. Everyone would be trained. Well, we've got, last time I counted was a couple of years ago, and it was over 500 graduates of that Certified Fastener Specialist program.
Wow.
And I remember when I left Ababa, I said to Vicki, hey, I'm doing my own gig. I can't really do this anymore. And I remember she said, well, will you do it if we pay you? Because I said, sure. Well, how much? And she said, a lot. I said, okay, well, let's do it. So they were very generous, being willing to pay what a consultant needs to get paid to be away for a day. And so I'm really grateful to the beginning, the Los Angeles Fastener Association, and then, of course, the Pac West made out of them. And so we do training to this day. I do training here. I'll tell you more about what's going on here in El Cajon later on the training side. Hopefully you'll ask me. And
okay, good hint.
Well, with your background in the Air Force, I can see why you chose the moniker Fastener War Stories, which you've been talking about on the most recent Training Minutes. And we're going to ask you about a couple of those. I think you've got probably more that we could cover in a zillion segments. But before we get to that, I'll very quickly ask you the same thing we asked at the top of the show, which is kind of the theme of today's episode, which is, so from your perspective, Carmen Vertullo, what the hell's going on?
Well, I'll tell you, I get to see a little bit more than the average person in the industry, I think, because I have lots of people in my classroom, whether it's in Cleveland or here in LA or somewhere, some other part of the country. And I think one of the things that's going on primarily is suppliers are discovering, many have discovered, but more and more are discovering that this is a technical business. And you have to have technical people at some level of your organization to do it properly and to do it well and to not be risking your business over it. Serious mistakes can get made because of people not being aware of the product and its application or what they can and can't do in terms of giving advice or, how their product might work in a particular application. So one of the things that I think is going on that's huge is not just the Fastener Training Institute, all of the consensus standards organizations have significant training programs out there. The IFI, for example, trains their members, who are mostly manufacturers, at a level that they never have before. The associations, the technical programs that the associations are putting on, and FDA and PAC West out here in California, and San Diego, coming up at the beginning of March. We're doing a program there on fastener graphics. I call it the illustrated fastener, because that's one of the things we do here at Carver as well. Upping our game as an industry in terms of bringing technology to work, not just in developing and using the fasteners themselves, but in how we present them and document them and sell them, and the sizzle part of the product. As always, and this is one of the war stories I'll tell, there's the hydrogen embrittlement boogeyman. Never goes away, it seems.
You just did that for Eric, okay? I know.
Yeah, I'm on the edge of my seat. I want to just skip ahead now, but go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'll talk more about that, but it seems like a month doesn't go by that I don't get a call from someone. I just wrote an article in Link. It's in the Link that just came out, the winter of 2016 issue, I think, that talks about one aspect of the hydrogen embrittlement issue, which is baking. When do we bake? How do we know what to bake? How long? What's the latest in that? I encourage everybody to read that, but that's just one small part of the puzzle. We'll be having another article next month to deal with some other things. And, one of the things I've been writing for Link for a couple of years, John Walkman at Fastener Training Institute has sort of made that connection with me and Leo and Tracy there, who, by the way, are great people. I just love working with them. They're so gracious and patient, and I'm always late, and they never complain. So thank you guys. Probably shouldn't say that out loud. I don't know if that's on the radio or not.
And I can reinforce that, Carm, because if you look at the winter issue, page 62, there's a photo of two handsome devils. And
I have it right here.
And we were sitting at a bar in Wisconsin doing some muskie fishing, and they said, "Hey, you got a high-res photo?" And I said, "Yeah." And I didn't think they'd actually run it, but they did.
I see it. There it is. All right. That's a great shot. You guys are having fun.
Didn't catch any fish, but it was fun.
So anyway, my point is hydrogen embrittlement is a big thing. Sadly, most folks who have had the experience with it aren't real eager to talk about it, almost like a venereal disease or something like that. Hey, I'm not going to share what I've learned with you, but
yeah, really can't. I don't think either of us can speak to that, Carm.
Right.
Well,
everyone's going to stay very quiet, okay?
Okay, so how do I know the comparison? I don't know how I can actually make that, but it is a not going away problem, but it is going to go away because, myself and some other very incredibly tall people whose shoulders I stand on to deal with this problem, people like Joe Greenslade and Salim Brahimi, especially Salim, his operation in Montreal, Abeka Technologies, and at McGill University, doing all this research that leads us to be able to get a better handle on this problem. But Salim is going to tell us what's going on with the molecules, and I'm going to help us deal with what's going on with the literal nuts and bolts.
Good, okay. I remember in that.
So that's what's going on in a nutshell for me right now. Graphics and hydrogen embrittlement, that seems to be the things.
Okay. Bob B would be very happy to know that, because in the projection of what's going to happen within the 10 years, his hope was that hydrogen embrittlement problem would have been actually solved by then.
And here is the key to solving the hydrogen embrittlement problem. It would be nice if somebody came up with a magic potion we could just put in the plating tank and make it not happen. I think based on what we understand about hydrogen embrittlement, that's probably not going to be the solution. But it is preventable 100% of the time. And lots of specifications and standards will say, hey, even if you do everything right, it still might happen. Read my next Link magazine and you'll know why they say that. But I believe that training is the key. We can make it go away, and it's just a matter of educating the industry, not just the fastener suppliers, but the end users and the platers as well.
Okay, well, that's good.
That's a double-edged sword, though, of course, because everybody wants this scourge of the industry to go away. On the other hand, a lot of really fun material will go away. But I guess that's a perfect segue, though, Carm, into fastener war stories, because you've got a ton of them, and I know you handpicked just a few to bring up on the segment here today. Why don't we launch off with war story number one?
Okay, well, in December, we did a webinar and we covered, 10 or 12 or 20, I can't remember how many, lots of issues with structural bolting. So I think I will maybe start with a structural bolt story. One of my clients here in Southern California a couple of years ago gave me a call and said, hey, I got a problem on a job in San Diego, and you're in San Diego, so I'm calling you. They've shut this job down because they say all of the tension control bolts that I shipped them are failing the lot assembly tension test, or the assembly lot tension test. And with tension control bolts, if you don't know what that is, it's an assembly that consists of a bolt, a washer, and a nut. The bolt has a spline on the threaded end. We have a special tool that sets this bolt. It's electrically driven. It causes that spline to snap off at a predetermined torque, which, if everything works right, develops a certain amount of tension in the bolt. And it's a very tricky part. And it's the go-to fastener for structural bolting these days. So there's some new stuff out there. We won't talk about that, but there's a new kind of tension control bolt out there right now that you probably need to look at our structural webinar to learn about that. But back to the story. So it was at a local community college. They're building a math building here. And they had shut the job down over this, or at least stopped the processing of installing these fasteners. And they said, here was what my client said. They rejected 9 lots of tension control bolts. So if you know a few things about fasteners, forget about tension control bolts. You know that when somebody rejects 9 lots of something, and this was several different sizes and 2 different manufacturers, it's statistically impossible. So one of the things that I was able to do quickly and easily was bring some calmness to my client and to my client's customer, who was literally in a wild panic. I mean, I thought the guy was going to have a heart attack on the phone, cussing up and down a storm. And he and I become great friends as a result of this, by the way. So, and he now works for a test lab. But I was able to convince them, listen, I don't know what the problem is exactly, but it's not the bolts, because it's technically impossible from any statistical point of view that you can have that many lots go bad on you. It's got to be either in their test process or the tooling that they're using. And without giving you all the gory details, it turned out they were using a Skidmore, which is a tool called a bolt tension calibrator, a hydraulic cylinder and a gauge that we used to do these job site tests with. That was worn out. They had a part in it that was worn out. They were using the machine incorrectly, didn't want to believe us. So fortunately, and this is one of the key aspects if you're in the structural bolting business, my client had a Skidmore. It was relatively new. He brought it down here to San Diego the next day. I'm looking at it and I'm saying, hey, this is actually a Sunday, I think he came down. I said, hey, I don't think we can use this because it's out of calibration. You can't bring an out of calibration tool on the job site. So that's where another resource comes into play. I got a great Cal Lab partner here in San Diego. I was able to bring it in there and get it done in a couple hours. We were able to bring it to the job site. Then we have dueling Skidmores at the OK Corral. Theirs on one side of the beam and mine on the other side. And I'm looking around. I'm setting mine up, and nobody's giving me any help. The thing weighs a ton. The new one doesn't weigh a ton, by the way. If you need a Skidmore, talk to me. And by the way, all structural bolt suppliers should have a Skidmore, period. End of topic. If you don't believe me, just call me up. I will talk you into it, and I'll send you to John O'Brien at Skidmore so you can buy yours.
Do we have one of those, Bry?
No, I don't think so, actually.
Well,
clearly, we're deficient. Thank you, Carmen, for pointing that out to us. Okay?
We'll discuss that later. So
thank you.
So I'm looking around, and the next thing you know, there's like people start accumulating, and most of them are wearing suits, and there's even women in high heels who are really important people, and skirts. And I'm thinking, man, this is a serious thing. I sure hope I was right about this. And so we did the test. We tested the bolts in my Skidmore, and they passed. We tested them in their Skidmore, and they failed. We swapped the suspect part around, which is called the tension plate that goes on the front of the Skidmore. They were using the wrong tension plate, and it was worn out. And then they failed in my Skidmore and passed in their Skidmore. End of discussion. Job's back on. They wrote a very nice, quick letter, got it out in the email, and off we go. So the moral of the story for that particular type of situation is rapid response, because they were getting ready to pour some concrete on the 3rd floor of this steel. And if they would have had to shut that down or remove a bunch of bolting, which was another, that's where they were going, remove this bolting and replace it. And I remember my client and his customer, I was there having the conversation, and he was saying, hey, get ready. We're going to take these bolts out, and I don't really know whose fault it is, but you're going to get charged somehow. So talk to your insurance company or your lawyer, whoever you need to talk to, because it's going to cost a lot of money.
Got it. All right. Well.
My client saying he went to the insurance company, and the insurance company said, well, anybody get hurt or killed? Is there any damage? No, not covered. So I'm not an insurance agent, but it's a special kind of coverage that you have to have, apparently, to deal with that kind of problem when that occurs.
Yeah, not a surprise.
And that's one of my favorite. It had a good outcome. They don't always have a good outcome.
Big money, skidmores, and skirts and heels. War story number 1.
Okay.
What else you got for us, Carm?
Let's talk about another one. This isn't really a structural bolt story, but it was in a structure, and it's a good lesson. Just very recently, a very good client of mine had a customer who was using socket set screws in a structural steel application. They were using them as tension fasteners because alloy steel socket set screws are very high hardness. So they equated the very high hardness with high strength. They used these 3/4 by about 6-inch long socket set screws, alloy steel, screwing them into a tapped hole, putting a piece of steel on it, then putting the nut on and tightening the nut. Well, the socket screws were breaking. Some of them were breaking through the socket because the socket was deep enough that it was into where the threads were in tension. And of course, they complained, these bolts are no good, these socket screws are bad, blah, blah, blah. So we had to first convince them, and the socket set screw specification is very clear that they are not tension fasteners. They're not to be used in tension. So the lesson there is not to just tell somebody something, is to be able to tell them from an authoritative perspective, and that means the standard or specification that covers the product. So we were quickly able to convince these very smart engineers that their application was not right. But now the solution, what are we going to do about this? We got to get some product. And so the solution, of course, was to make some socket set screws because they liked the physical part of the application that were not made out of alloy steel. Make them out of like grade 5 or grade 8 or some material that's strong enough but not so hard that it's brittle. And we settled on A193 grade B7 because we could cut pieces of threaded rod and I could machine a square socket into the end of it here in my shop. So we made them some prototypes. They liked it. They said, hey, can you get us a couple hundred of these in a hurry? Because it's going to take a while for the socket screw manufacturer to make them. So we made them a few hundred, which then again turned into a few thousand because the lead time was long. But now hopefully they're being made in 25,000 piece order for somebody. It's going to be a very nice order. So the moral of that story is 2 things. One is use a standard. Don't ever say, hey, Carmen said, or I heard it in a webinar, I read it in a magazine. Quote scripture when you're going to tell somebody some information about their application. And then secondly, have resources where you can bring a solution to the table quickly and easily.
Very cool. No skirts and heels, but very informative nevertheless. Well, let's move on to war story number 3 that you've selected for us. What do you got?
All right. Well, it wouldn't be complete if this war story segment did not include something on hydrogen embrittlement, and I've got dozens of them. But one of the more significant ones occurred several years ago where a client called me because they had sold some product that was a zinc-plated half-13s alloy steel socket head cap screw. Alloy steel socket head cap screws in the inch world and in the metric world, property class 12.9 are the most susceptible products. That's where most of our hydrogen embrittlement failures come from. I'm not going to educate you on hydrogen embrittlement right now, and you'll know why in a minute. In any case, they sold this product, which they are in the business of selling and producing. They buy socket screws and they plate them and they sell them to the marketplace. Hundreds of items. They sold them to a sub-tier distributor who sold them to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, who used them to hold some casters on a piece of support equipment for the Mars lander. They put these socket head cap screws on. They came in the next day. The socket head cap screw heads had popped off. The casters had broken off. And thank God the Mars lander was not on this piece of equipment when that happened. Of course, they published a report, and the JPL, they have some significant resources when it comes to metallurgy and failure analysis. And they not only failure analyze this bolt, they failure analyze 3 or 4 like it to show what a good bolt looks like compared to a bad one. So they descend upon the source with the report, The source sends it back to my client who sold it to them, and we have to come up with a root cause and a corrective action. Now, it was relatively straightforward that this was a hydrogen embrittlement failure. Some are very easy to diagnose, and this was right at the top of the list because we had several things going. We have a susceptible part. We have the fracture surface was clearly a brittle fracture. It happened, the fracture was right at the head-body junction. The parts were put under stress. It was a delayed failure. And then the final thing, which is always the thing that I look for, that is this top indicator, is was the process under control? Now, from my client's point of view, in terms of the process, they thought it was well under control. They were using a very good plater who had their act together. They knew how to bake the product. They were baking it for a good amount of time. So why did this happen? We go and visit the plater, and we discover that their oven did not have good controls on it. They could show us where they had plated and baked this product. They had a good record. Even though it was rudimentary, it was manual and they had to dig it out, but they could not prove that that oven was at the right temperature for the right amount of time while that product was in there. As well, it was their practice to put the fasteners in a bucket or bin and put them in this oven, which was a fairly big oven. It was big enough you could walk in it, in and out. So we did a couple of things. One, we made them get a new calibration on the oven, put a control system on it that included a strip chart, circular chart, computer type control system, so they could annotate when the product went in, how long it was in there, and at what temperature. We changed their loading method from a bin to a sheet, so the fasteners would sort of like go on a bakery rack on cookie sheets, and we would roll those in, and we put thermocouples on the sheets themselves so that the time starts when the fasteners are up to temperature, not when they go in the oven. And we did some work more significantly than that in training the supplier how to test the parts. So they 100% test for hydrogen embrittlement, their plated product, and they do a very good job of it. It's been several years since this problem had occurred. So we have a very good record of that. I think the thing to learn from that experience is two things. One is, it's very risky plating socket product. So if you're going to do it, and some people would advocate, my good friend Joe Greenslade would simply say, don't do it. And some suppliers take that approach. But if it's your core business or you have a customer that's going to walk away from you over it, you need to learn how to do it and just do it correctly. And so one of the things that we're doing here at the Carver Fact Center is my shop here in El Cajon, and that means Fastening Applications Consulting and Training Center.
What's the, before you go on with that, what's the website for that?
You go to carverem.com, and there's a subpage called Fact Center, or Carver Fact, I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll throw your websites out at the end of the segment here, but I wanted to pop that in. And, as long as I got you, stop for a second here, I guess this also proves, and Brian will identify with this, that just like a good chef, you've got to have precise oven control, right?
If you Google Carver Fact, you'll come up with it. It's
and I knew you'd be able to bring...
It's carverem.com/fasteners, but just Google Carver Fact and you'll get there.
I knew you'd get hydrogen embrittlement somewhere again, okay?
So, one of the things that the vision we have for this center is to be able to bring people who need training in fasteners here in small groups for hands-on intensive training, even beyond what the Fastener Training Institute does. Because one of the things, you heard it said before, there's actually a book by this name. It's a sales book. You can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar. And I thought, well, you know what? I'll bet you if you bring some bikes, you could do that. So,
well, then it's more like a workshop.
That's what it is. So at the Carver Fact Center, we will have the tools and equipment. It's a workbench, shop floor environment. Of course, we're going to use PowerPoint. We're going to, kill you with that and all the other various types of things that we might need in terms of training tools, but it's hands-on. So this hydrogen embrittlement class that we have coming up, it's actually going to be February the 29th and March the 1st, right before the NFDA meeting. So probably by the time you hear this, it's going to be filled up. I pray it's going to be filled up. We can only take 16 people because it needs to be a lot of personal attention. My intent is to do what I did for that client I just described, which cost them a lot of money for me to go there and do that and train them and make sure they knew how to test their product. is to bring 16 people, maybe 8 or 10 or 12 companies into the room, and they all walk away after 2 days of training being completely equipped to not only safely process their products that are hydrogen embrittlement susceptible, but know how to audit their plating processes, know how to test the product, and know what to test and when to test. Have the equipment. As a matter of fact, I'm encouraging the attendees to bring their equipment with them, which isn't that extensive. It's just some torque wrenches and test plates. And I'll give you a pre-seminar consultation that will help you figure out what kind of equipment you need based on your product mix. It's 2 days. The second day, we're going to do case studies, and you're going to go through the process of writing your own hydrogen embrittlement risk management policy. So when you go back to the job, it's not going to be, hey, I had some hands-on. It's going to be, you're going to be thoroughly equipped and trained to confidently deal with this hydrogen embrittlement monster and never become a victim of it. Beyond that, our next program is going to be on structural bolting. Another one is going to be on inspecting threads, a full day on inspecting threads. Actually, that's a 2-day program. First day is inspecting threads. The second day will be on other types of fastener inspection features, special inspections for fasteners. And we have a long list of these types of programs. We hope to do about 4 to 5 a year.
Well, I hope you keep us abreast of all of this during the Fastener Training Minute, and you're a friend of the show, so I'm sure you will.
It's in San Diego. I'm hoping folks, hey, even if you don't like what happens at the shop, you'll enjoy yourself in our beautiful weather and our nice, beautiful outside right now, by the way, here. It's very nice.
It's very nice in Chicago too, thank you. It's just
right.
a bit 60 degrees different.
Rub it in.
So that's what the Carver Fact Center is all about. So if you're coming to San Diego for NFDA or the NFDA Pac West Conference, and it's not too late to change your travel plans to come earlier and join this. Also on Wednesday at the Coronado Lowe's Resort for the Fastener Training Institute, we're doing a 4-hour half-day program on the illustrated fastener. You will learn about all the latest tools and the simple tools for making drawings and blueprints, solid models, the things you want to put on your website that illustrate how your product works.
You got a lot going on, man.
I do. I have to admit, I think I have probably filled my plate up a little bit too heavy these next couple of months, but we'll work it out. I have a great helper in Sean Johnson. Any of you that have had any drawings done by us, you've probably worked with Sean. He's my CAD engineer. I'm very happy to have him here. And that's what we do.
Well, thanks for that roundup, Carmen. We wish you a lot of success with this new endeavor, and that in-depth training is really, really going to go a long way, I'm very, very sure. Brian, you were wondering about another topic before we let Carm go.
Yes, Carm. Speaking of hydrogen embrittlement and brittle fracture, so maybe you could bring us up to date on what's really happening at the Bay Bridge.
Oh, mercy. Well, I wish I could but I'm not 100% up to speed on it, but I'll tell you what I know. So for those of you that, I'm sure anyone that's listening to this program is familiar with the Bay Bridge situation. A couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, they had the situation with detention rods having hydrogen embrittlement failure, which I'm not close to it. I have not personally worked on it, and I probably should not be considered an authority by anybody when it comes to the Bay Bridge. So be careful about that. But I do know people who have worked on it very closely, Salim Brahimi being one of them. And the problem was hydrogen embrittlement. The issue had to do with the quality of the steel that those rods were made from, or the alloy steel that those rods were made from. And even though they met the specification technically, they were kind of crappy in terms of the heat treat. The material was not consistent in terms of its microstructure and its hardness. So some parts of the material were too hard, and that's what caused the hydrogen embrittlement to occur, even though the specification in terms of the way the product was supposed to be inspected and tested, A354BD, was not detailed enough to detect that. Since then, or as we speak, or very shortly, A354BD will have a change that will require anytime we use a very large BD grade fastener in a fully tensioned application, we want some extra testing to happen to make sure that we can't have this possibility of weird spots in the bolt where we have bad microstructure or inconsistent hardness throughout the structure. So that's how that was dealt with at the ASTM level. Now, as for what's happened since then, of course, they put a multi-gazillion dollar fix on it. belt and suspenders kind of fix. But even since then, there have been other issues. There have been issues with nut stripping. They've found further cracking going on certain tension rods, which I think they do believe is caused by hydrogen embrittlement as well.
Yeah.
So the saga continues, and I will tell you, one of the guys who is on top of this is a reporter at the San Francisco Chronicle named Jackson Vanderbecken. He's a great guy. He is a public safety reporter there, and he follows this very closely. So if you want to find out, Google Jackson. Tell him Carmen sent you if you want to call him up and talk to him. But we actually brought him in, and he spoke at one of our PAC West dinner meetings in La Mirada a couple of years ago, and he's a great guy to talk to. You should have him on the program if you want to know about what's the latest with the Bay Bridge. Now, I have to tell you, he is a public safety reporter, and it is the San Francisco Chronicle. So he is going to have a certain, I won't say he's got a bias.
Right.
Say no more.
Right. But it is, it's an interesting thing because he's
a bloodhound and he's looking for blood.
Right. This is engineering, the practical engineering.
But Jackson has done his homework. I have to hand it to him. He can talk the technical stuff on this problem with the best of them. So if someone wants to know what's going on, ask Jackson. And I probably, just as a guy that's supposed to know his way around the fastener industry, need to get my homework done and get up to speed on it as well. He calls me every now and then. He's quoted me a couple of times in his magazine articles or his newspaper articles. Bottom line is it's ongoing. I wish I could say, I think the last time we talked about this, you asked me, when will we know if it's safe or not? And I said, after the first earthquake.
Yep.
I'm not sure. I think we could very well, I hate to say it, but have an ongoing saga of not knowing.
Well, look, all advanced big engineering structures have had their problems. Go around France, you can see they built cathedrals that fell down, okay? And in the end, Romans did too. But it's just an interesting engineering problem because it has to be fixed in an engineering solution with people who know how to deal with fasteners. Now, another question, just one brief question. When I was years ago, just after they developed the printing press, when I was at engineering school.
Oh yeah.
They told us that what was the definition of an alloy? Well, it's two materials that have been, heated in a crucible. Okay. So zinc and tin make brass, I think, and, carbon and iron make steel. And so steel is an alloy. So how come the fastener industry has dreamed up this crazy thing of calling something alloy steel? There's no such thing. Alloy steel is an alloy.
That is an outstanding question, and it is a legitimate source of confusion for people who, we just as being used to it don't see it as a problem, but it is a confusing term. So you made a good point that anytime we bring more than one metal together in a crucible and melt them and pour them out into a solid, we have an alloy. Only pure metals are not alloys. So if you have pure gold, that's not an alloy. 18 karat gold, for example, is an alloy.
Yep.
Steel with carbon and other things in it is an alloy of more than one item. So why do we call this other animal, which is steel with some other what are called alloying elements in them, if you will, such as chrome, molybdenum, manganese, whatever else we may put in them to make boron steel, for example. We specifically say alloy steel. Well, we simply say that to distinguish alloy steel from carbon steel. The steel that is a higher or more sophisticated, if you will, alloy from the common carbon steel. That's the terminology. I agree it's a little bit confusing, but, for example, brass is an alloy. And sometimes you've heard the term alloy 660 or something like that. Or so when you say alloy, it means more than one metal. You say alloy steel, though, it specifically means not carbon steel, not just regular carbon steel, steel that has more stuff in it. Typically, it's going to be chrome, molybdenum, vanadium, those kinds of things. Enough to significantly change its properties in terms of strength, hardness, heat treatment, heat treatability, and ductility, and so on.
Well, Bri, I think you asked the right gentleman that question, that person being Mr. Carmen Vertullo, and I think we got more than predominantly fastener-related in this segment, gentlemen. Carmen, I thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, definitely.
I'm happy to be here, and I'll always enjoy coming on the program. And thank you guys. This this is such a cool thing that we have in our industry, having this radio show. And I'm just pleased and honored to be a small part of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carm. Hey, before we let you run, why don't you throw that website out there one last time so people can get out there and get more info on your training endeavors?
If you go to www.carverem.com, as in engineering and manufacturing.com, you'll get to my website. There is a sub page called Fasteners, or if you just Google Carver Fact, CarverFact, Google that, you'll land on that page. And it's not a big old sophisticated website. It'll give you what you need to know about what we do. So,
hey, this is the fastener industry. We're not looking for sophistication, okay?
Yeah, all right.
Good stuff. Once again, Carmen Vertullo, thank you for joining us. Brian Musker, Eric Dudas, Fully Threaded Radio.
Online Fastener Talk Radio. Hey, at least it kills time on long road trips. Fully Threaded Radio.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Are you tired of empty promises from software vendors? Are you paying for support that you're not receiving? Is it time for another paid upgrade? There is a solution. InSequel delivers quality software designed for the fastener industry at an affordable price with industry-leading support. Unlike other software companies, with InSequel, you purchase your software once. There will never be a paid upgrade. If you need assistance with anything, InSequel is there to help. When you call, you will always speak with a real person offering you quick and knowledgeable answers to your questions. Can your current provider say this? Quality software, affordable pricing, industry-leading support. Only InSequel can deliver all three. So why settle? Call InSequel Software at 877-446-9775 or visit www.inxsql.com.
You probably know that Lindstrom is an industry leader in metric fasteners. And there's a good chance you know we recently expanded to provide a wide range of high-grade inch fasteners. But what you probably don't know is that Lindstrom has made a serious commitment to earn your socket business. How serious? Well, let's start with 11,000 products. Announcing Lindstrom's expanded line of socket products, including socket head cap screws, flat head socket cap screws, button head socket cap screws, socket shoulder screws, and more. Plain, plated, or patched, in a full range of inch and metric sizes. Special lengths and thread pitches available through in-house fabrication. Always packed to your specification. Lindstrom. Flexibility, choice, and value at every turn. Here for everything distributors need. To learn more about Lindstrom and our expanded line of socket products, visit LindstromSockets.com. Lindstrom, by any measure. To speak with a sales representative, call 1-800-328-2430.
I know my customers' yearly usage, but I don't have the warehouse space to store it.
Solution Man can. Submit a blanket order, and I'll not only set up release dates, I'll offer you bulk pricing too. Visit the Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
You're my fastener superhero.
Just doing my job, ma'am.
This is John Breeze with Arizona Industrial Hardware. Visit us at AIHfasteners.com, your source for aerospace fasteners, mil-spec hardware, and precision mechanical components. And you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you on the torque wrench of fastener truth, fully threaded.
A torque wrench, so we have to keep twisting it down.
We're always working, Bri. Never forget it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a chance to forget that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, Carmen Vertullo is one guy who knows exactly what the hell's going on. Good to have him on the show, huh?
It is, and I'm glad that there's someone around who's got the smarts to be able to design a better jet engine test unit too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love the notion of a dueling Skidmore. Or dueling Skidmores, should I say.
Right.
I bet he had a blast with that one.
Yeah, that's like the original geekdom of the fastener world, I think that is.
Yeah, that's a mechanical engineer's dream right there. I bet you were having some fantasies while he was talking. Well, it was good of Carmen Vertullo to join us. I hope everybody will get out to his website out there at Carver Consulting. His new endeavor in training sounds like a very hands-on approach to teaching some of this material. It'd be kind of difficult otherwise, I'd have to imagine.
Yeah.
And we'll wish him success with that and thank him again for appearing on the podcast this time around.
Yep. Thanks, Carmen.
Also like to thank Bob Chiricosta of Mack Brooks. He, of course, was telling us all about Fastener Fair Mexico coming up in June. And Kevin Miller joined Mike McNulty on the Fastener News Report this time. They talked about the Fastener Distributor Index. Mike had all the headlines. Thanks, guys. Also had a little cameo this episode from J.R. Prowl getting into the Wayback Machine. Looked through some of the old directories while I was putting episode 100 together and found that little jewel. This is Ivan calling.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks for that, JR.
Yeah, thanks.
And also, as usual, would like to thank the sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded are Stelfast. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stelfast. And Lindstrom, and the Lindstrom family of companies, including Titan Fasteners. Lindstrom, by any measure. Fully Threaded is also sponsored by Buckeye Fasteners, Fastenal, Fastener Technology International, InSequel Software, Indy Industries, The Worth Group, Trinity Hardware Headquarters, Volt Industrial Plastics, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. Get with us anytime, folks. The email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. Twitter, the handle's fullythreaded. We'd like to thank each and every one of you for listening in as well. As we mentioned at the top of the show, we'd appreciate it if you mentioned the podcast to any of your coworkers or associates, trying to spread the word around a little bit.
Right, if you think they might be faintly interested in fasteners, even in passing.
Even predominantly related to fasteners,
Yeah.
As we like to say. So, before we wind up here, Bri, I'd like to ask you, did you know that the U.S. produces 2/3 of all Crayola products in their global sales?
I had absolutely no idea. It's not one of the facts I keep at my fingertips, actually.
Well, it's true, apparently. Other countries may produce all of the cars, the consumer electronics, appliances, gym shoes, but doggone it, the U.S. has crayons, so that's something to feel good about, huh?
I'm very pleased about that. Yeah, I wasn't that pleased, and I went to buy a pair of Levi's, and I had the choice of Levi's made in Egypt, Korea, Bangladesh, China, and Mexico. Not one of them made in the US.
Yeah, it's a little discouraging. And we're kind of having some fun with this. We're not really cynical about this, folks. We're big fans of reshoring, big fans of the Reshoring Institute and Harry Mosier's work. Of course, we've had him on the podcast a few times.
Yep.
But this topic has resurfaced in kind of a big way. Get out to Twitter and just pop reshoring into the search bar, and you'll find several tweets that have come out. And I guess it has gotten some headlines because of a post, or there's probably numerous posts that have included this, but recently a report came out by a consultancy by the name of A.T. Kearney. This was back in December, and several people have commented on it. I saw actually a article whiz by on LinkedIn by somebody named Yossi Sheffi. He's a director at MIT Center for Transportation and Logistics, and he posted it. That's where I first caught it. The story begins, the controversy over reshoring has flared up again thanks largely to some research published by managing consulting firm A.T. Kearney. Some people argue that this trend has accelerated over recent years and is reviving the nation's manufacturing might, but the recently published research suggests that these claims are exaggerating and reshoring is not the savior it is being made out to be. I'm not going to read too much more about the article, but they go point by point and try to give some general reasons why reshoring isn't happening. And of course, they have their own research of several companies that export to the U.S. and several that import, I suppose. And it's caused a stir.
Well, Harry would be not very happy with that, I wouldn't think.
Well, he's chimed in, of course. And again, folks, if you'd like to read a few articles on this, just go out to Twitter. That's probably the best place to go. I know you won't be able to do that, but
how do you do that?
Use a search engine.
Okay.
In particular, I saw a fairly compelling story that actually cites Mr. Harry Mosier, this one by Rosemary Coates, who's president of Blue Silk Consulting. Her story starts off, A.T. Kearney recently published the results of a new study stating that reshoring is not happening as predicted in U.S. manufacturing. But their survey is just plain wrong and appears to be skewed towards causing a controversy instead of reporting on the momentum building for reshoring. And she goes on to cite several companies that have been reshoring and several that apparently are in the works right now, and refutes a lot of what is stated in the previous article by A.T. Kearney. And you're left really to wonder who's got the correct statistics.
Right. Or you're left to know that statistics can be used to prove anything you want to, okay?
So are you saying that there's no objective truth here to be found?
Not in terms of statistics. Depends how you want to weight different things.
I know, but I'm saying behind the statistics.
Oh. No one's dealing with those numbers. They're only dealing with the results of them.
I got you. Clearly no self-evident truths in this case, huh?
No, don't. So.
I'll tell you a couple of things really stick out to me in the whole conversation. One of them is I think both sides are conceding that many jobs that have been offshored probably won't be coming back, and that's due to automation, robotization, I suppose, and also additive manufacturing, 3D manufacturing. So some of them would have been carved away by that. Another one is because of the situation in China. I think the labor force is having a harder time lobbying for better wages. That makes them more appealing, at least for the time being. And then you also have the omnipresent issue of fuel prices. And so since fuel has dropped, the transportation costs and associated overhead has dropped, and all of those you have to figure into the mix of reasons for and against.
Also, I mean, remember that the whole general workforce is changing to a different level of technology too. I mean, it might be that the jobs managing or controlling a lathe are not quite as many as there were, but I read a statistic last week that pointed out that there were over 1 million jobs in IT that were unfilled in the US at the moment.
Wow.
That's a lot of, so it just means that, the guy who was on the shop floor is going to have trouble getting a job, but maybe they need to start retraining those people. I mean, 1 million jobs, positions vacant, that's severely constraining the US's ability to, advance into the new technical age, which is where the US has huge advantages. And even though we can't make an iPhone as cheaply as they can in China, at least they can design it here. They can copy it in China, but they can't think of it there.
Right. Sounds like Harry Mosier needs to add you on his team, Bry.
I have strong views on some of these things.
Well, you should go out hawking for reshoring along with Harry. I think I'll give him a call.
Good.
But in summary, I mean, with this whole reshoring controversy simmering back up to the top, and with the mixed commentary we had from some of the people that we quoted at the top of the show, I mean, what do we make of all this? I mean, how do you sum it all up?
Well, you still have to ask yourself what the hell's going on.
Thank you for bringing us back on theme, Mr. Musker.
I'm good at that, actually.
You are. And with that, folks, we're going to put episode 101 of Fully Threaded Radio in the can.
So long, folks. If you figure out the answer, let us know next time, okay?
Please do. For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there, sell some screws, figure it all out for us, and we'll talk to you later.
Right.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.